What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. Economic Prepper here. Hope you guys are ready for this. Lots of changes coming down the pipeline, and the changes are ramping up in velocity, and a lot of people are not going to be ready. So I really hope that my community is prepping, is preparing, and I'm going to be very honest with you guys. This is going to be one of those videos where you definitely want to consider sharing this video with your friends and your loved ones. It's really going to take a collective effort for us to be able to attempt to overcome and prepare for what is about to happen here. If you're new to the channel, please consider dropping a like for the video. I really appreciate that. Also, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys. I really appreciate the comments that you guys have left over the past several days, past several weeks. I really appreciate the community that we have here. I don't care if you've filled up your gas tank recently. You cannot ignore the higher gas prices. It's an unavoidable thing that you see. Even if you're not filling up your gas tank, you drive by the gas station, and you can see the gas prices each and every single day. Diesel prices constantly going up, unleaded gas prices, unleaded fuel going up. I've been seeing more and more gas stations with yellow bags on the handles, so just making a mental note of that. I'm not saying that we have any kind of gas shortage, but I have been seeing more and more gas stations with the yellow out of service bags on the gas handles. So I'm not really sure what that's about, and maybe it's just a local thing for me. If you guys are seeing that, comment down below. So we're getting hit in the face at the gas pump. We're getting hit in the face again at the grocery stores. Everything's going up. Meat prices, egg prices, milk. I don't care what you're buying. If you're in Walmart, Aldi, Costco, Sam's Club, BJ's, Publix, Sprouts, it doesn't matter. It seems like there's no deals anymore, right? There's no deals. Everything's overpriced, unbelievably overpriced. We're being told that the CPI index is like what, 8.3, no, I'm sorry. It was 8.3%. And then even after 2 rate increases from the Fed, the most recent CPI or CPI that was reported was 8.6%. So inflation's still going up, which is rather scary considering we know that the Fed is going to continue to ratchet up interest rates until they get a handle on inflation. Now, their goal is to bring down inflation to like 2%, but they haven't even stopped the, I hate to say it, I don't know if it's a runaway train at this point, but they haven't even stopped the climb. So interest rates, or the CPI, is still going higher. And so of course they're going to continue to go higher and higher on their interest rates. Obviously this is going to affect our credit card rates, how much you're paying for your credit cards, if you have any kind of debt. If you're carrying a revolving balance on your credit card, you're absolutely going to be hit. So obviously one of the best things that you can do is to pay off that credit card, eliminate some of that high interest debt, because you're going to be glad you did. Build up that emergency fund. You're absolutely going to need it. Going into the grocery stores, I'm seeing fewer and fewer workers in there. And some stores it's a little shocking to see. Like for example, if you take Target, for example, Target used to be like, to me, Target used to be, in comparison to Walmart, it was like the more higher end Walmart. I just heard something fall from the roof, so I don't know if I have a squirrel up there or not. Sorry, I got distracted. But so anyway, Target to me used to be one of those stores that was always, what the heck is that? Sorry, Target used to be one of those stores, in comparison to Walmart, it was like a higher end Walmart. It was smaller, but it just had a nicer feel to it to me. The prices were reasonable, but I would typically find a slightly discounted price at Walmart, right? And so, but with that, you normally would get better lighting. I thought that the lighting was a little bit better. The employees were happier. Lines were shorter, and we talked about this in one of my previous videos, how Walmart used to be like 40 lines or 40 registers, and I can't remember for the life of me ever seeing all 40 registers manned or occupied by a cashier. At the most, you might have seen 30-40% of the registers occupied, right? Then of course they rolled out the self-checkout, and over time they began to reduce the physical cashiers more and more. You'd see fewer and fewer. Well, I was in Target and I was blown away by how long the line was in Target. And it wasn't like, I mean, this was like yesterday. So I'm thinking to myself, like, this is ridiculous. Since when are Target lines this long? Now, granted, I don't shop as much as my wife does, so maybe this isn't completely unusual. But for someone who goes to Target every now and then, this really jumped out at me as a change. And that's the interesting thing about change. When changes are small, if you see these changes each and every single day, you have a tendency to not notice them. But if change is taking place day in and day out, and you're not a part of it, but then you see, maybe weeks down the line or months down the line, so you have a snapshot in your mind of what you remembered last, and then you're updated with the present perspective, the present activity, you can really see big change. And so unfortunately, a lot of people, they're living their lives pretty much asleep behind the wheel, so to speak, and they're not seeing change that's taking place around them, in their communities, in their in society. And so I'm observing how long these Target lines are, and and I'm thinking to myself, wow, like, what is going on here? Now, I did observe that there's a lot more self-checkouts. And what I'm seeing here, and I don't know if this is across the board at all Targets, but basically what I am seeing, it's like this evolutionary process that essentially Walmart went through over the last 10 to 15 years since they started rolling out their self-checkout. But it's interesting. I don't know what is going on up there. Hang on a second, guys. I keep hearing something falling down from like the gutters of the house. Anyway, Target has had self-checkout for years. There's no surprise there. But Target didn't eliminate the cashiers at the rate that they did at Walmart. Walmart accelerated the elimination of the worker much faster than Target has. And so when I was in Target to see this long line, I'm like, what is going on here? And I recently read, there was a earnings report that came out from Target recently, and they're basically revising down their estimates in terms of revenue and the profit for the company. And so it's only a matter of time. Like, you can't argue the fact that eliminating overhead in a company is going to make you more profitable, right? Assuming that the overhead that you're eliminating is not bringing in revenue. So to the extent that a company can eliminate the overhead and not compromise their revenue and not compromise their profit, they're going to do it. And unfortunately, it looks like more and more companies are doing this. We saw this with the banks, right? We saw there was a time where you could walk into a bank. I don't care if it was a Chase Bank or Bank of America. I don't know how many of you guys remember Nations Bank back in the day. Nations Bank became, I think Nations Bank became something before it became Bank of America, but it doesn't matter where you bank. Truist, SunTrust, Wells Fargo, Chase Bank, doesn't matter. They're all doing it. It used to be a point where you could walk into a bank and you dealt with a teller. You'd have 5-10 different tellers, and if you did the drive-through, you had 4 or 5 different tellers ready to work with you as you drove through the drive-through at the bank. Now, and we know where we're at today, but this was an evolutionary process, and we're seeing this across the board in all industries. Now you walk into a bank and you're lucky to find 2 or 3 people working in there, and it's crazy because I used to really enjoy the few times that I would go into the bank, because I usually don't have to go into a bank, but I used to enjoy the human-to-human interaction, walking into a bank and actually talking with the tellers. Some of the faces, people who have been there for a while, they recognize you. Hey, how you doing? How is everything? Now, granted, that doesn't add profitability to your business, but it is nice to have that human-to-human interaction. I mean, you go into a bank now and it's like there's multiple ATMs inside the bank as well as outside of the bank. you have one bank manager, one bank branch manager, if that, and at the most you might see, at least at the banks near me, 1 to 2 tellers. And when you come in, they are literally just trying to steer you directly to the ATM. They don't even want you to go see a teller. Basically, if there's, for some reason, there's this like rare thing you need done, you can actually make it past the gatekeeper, which just so happens to be the bank manager or the branch manager that's at the entrance greeting you. And then they'll say, okay, go see the teller. But otherwise, or of course, unless you just plainly flat out object, you can go to a teller if you don't want to work with the ATM. But they're eliminating jobs, and we're evolving more and more so to this fully automated society. And the scary thing is how many jobs are going to be completely eliminated going forward. And you know, we're seeing unemployment at record low levels according to what we're being told. But we know the truth is a lot of people have just given up on looking for jobs. A lot of people have realized that, you know, hey, the ship has sailed in terms of what they used to do. And it's really unfortunate, but you know, there's just a ton of jobs that are just going to continue to be eliminated. And we're going to continue to watch the easiest jobs that are the easiest opportunity to implement automation into. Those are going to be the lowest hanging fruit, and they're going to be the first ones to go. They're going to be the first ones to go. And this will continue. There's no reason for this to stop. Company expenses continue to go higher. Fuel costs continue to go higher. And at the end of the day, the companies, these billion-dollar companies, these billion-dollar organizations, these billion-dollar corporations, their fiduciary responsibility, it's not to the employee, it's not to the people who help make this company profitable. Loyalty to your employees, loyalty to your staff, I feel like that's largely out the window, at least for large corporations. You know, there's some mom and pop businesses still that care about the people that work with them and that help them be profitable. But by and large, big corporations, they just don't care anymore. It's all about how much profit can we make? How much more earnings can we make over the previous quarter? I mean, look at these billion-dollar oil and gas companies. Unbelievable, obscene amounts of profits at the expense of the everyday American, me and you. We have reports from California that people are already paying $9 a gallon for gas. And a recent report came out not too long ago, probably 8 days ago now. Jamie Dimon, who just so happens to be the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, he's predicting, now keep in mind, oil prices today, we're right around $122, $125 a barrel. I forget what it was. But he's anticipating upwards of $150 to $175 a barrel for oil. So the expectation for fuel is only going to get worse. President Biden, I shared this with you guys on a previous video. Definitely check it out. President Biden pretty much admitted that he's given up on trying to bring oil prices down. And I called this before, you know, there was this push that he mentioned, and he was saying something like, oh, well, you know, we're going to go after these oil and gas companies because they are, what is the term that he used? They are price gouging and they're taking advantage of the American consumer. And of course, you know, the blame game comes, oh, it's because of the Russia-Ukraine war and this, that, and the other. Of course, you know, anybody who's following the channel, we know that the price of gas has been going up long before the Russian-Ukraine war, but they want to divert our attention to that. And of course, they wasted no time. It's funny, like, you look at Congress, and I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican. You guys know I don't care about any of that, but I just find it unbelievably interesting how quickly Congress decided to vote and pass a bill to send $40 billion over to the Ukraine, like in record speed. Like, there's so many bills there's so many bills that get created that ultimately die Some don't even get voted on. But it was just unbelievable when you look at it, how many different bills can be created and passed in record-breaking speed, depending upon what they want to do. And it's just a big game to them. It's a big game to them. And at the end of the day, you want to talk about the wealth gap getting wider and wider. There's not going to be any middle class. It's going to continue to erode away. The direction that we're headed, we're going to continue to erode away. You're going to have higher and higher living expenses. More and more jobs are going to continue to be eliminated through automation and digitization. If you are not preparing for what is coming, the writing is on the wall, you guys. And we have to come together. And I would love to ask you guys for your suggestions on how we could potentially slow down this process, because we're headed in a direction that is not only very negative, but we're heading in a direction where very, very few people are going to be able to win, or going to win. And it's kind of like, if you're playing Monopoly, there's going to be a point where there's only the 1% of the players remaining, which is one person, right? But in our society, it's going to be less than 1% that are still playing the game, because everyone is going to be in a situation where, number one, you're lucky to have a job. Number two, look at the stock market right now. We're down good 20%. No one even knows. No one knows with 100% certainty what to even invest in. The fear in the market is just unbelievable. And I know what I'm working on. I know what I'm doing in terms of my investments. And maybe I'll share some of those strategies with you guys in the future. But if the fear is so great right now, whether or not you're investing in the stock market, S&P 500, Dow Jones, if you're considering to invest in gold has been fairly stable, gold and silver. But oddly enough, gold hasn't shot up to the extent that you would think. Historically, gold shoots up and is generally looked at as like a safe haven, wealth preservation form of asset. And you would think that with the stock market having plummeted to the extent that it has, gold would have gone up. We haven't seen that. Bitcoin, Etherium, cryptocurrency was largely touted as being this inflation hedge. Well, how's that working out, right? If you look at Bitcoin right now, as of the time of this video, Bitcoin is right around $25,000 a coin. Now, obviously, because Bitcoin is so volatile, who knows where it is at this very moment. But the point is even Bitcoin, Ethereum, cryptocurrency hasn't held up in terms of, at least in the short term, to be this great inflationary hedge. Here we are having record levels of inflation, and some of the champion investments, such as cryptocurrencies, which should have been which was perceived to be this perfect investment when you have inflation, when you have rapid inflation of the US dollar, for example, and other currencies, not limited to the US dollar, that you could rely on putting your money in Bitcoin, putting your money in Ethereum or some of these other cryptocurrencies. Okay, maybe over the long term, the trajectory of the values of these cryptocurrencies change, but for right now, in the short term, I don't see that. So one of the things that I would be doing, and I would be telling my friends, I would be telling my families, corporations, their bottom lines are shrinking. Revenues are shrinking across the board. Look at the stock market. The stock market is completely red across the board. And these companies, they're all about survival, profitability. So what's going to happen is they're going to well, they're not even going to start. They've already started. They're going to continue to cut back on their overhead. They're going to cut back on expenses. They're going to cut back on advertising. So if you start seeing some of these symptoms in the companies that you work for, know that your job is at risk, because as an employee, you're always going to be an expense. So one of the things I would be looking to do is to Definitely create a significant emergency fund, minimum 6 months, and make sure you pay off your high interest debt. I'm going to share more tips and tricks with you guys in the future videos, but I just wanted to share this with you guys today. I really do hope that you guys enjoyed the video. I hope that you share the content, you enjoy the content that I've shared with you today, and drop me some comments down below. What are some of the things that you guys are doing to prepare yourself for what's coming? If you made it this far in the video, definitely drop me a like. I would really appreciate that. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you guys as a part of my YouTube family, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Take care.